Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bearded Mystic podcast, and I'm your host, Rahul N. Singh. Thank you for taking out the time today to either watch or listen to this podcast episode. Before we begin this episode, there are a few things I would like to let you know about. If you're really interested in supporting the Bearded Mystic podcast and you've found great benefit in listening or watching these episodes, then please do support this podcast on Patreon, where you can get ad-free and bonus episodes along with other benefits depending on the tier that you select. Your support means everything, and it really does help the podcast keep running efficiently and smoothly, and also widens the audience that this message can reach to. If you would like to know more about it, the details are in the show notes and video description below. On Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there is a free virtual meditation session along with discussion and Q&A. If you're interested in meditating with us as a community, then you can find out the details in the show notes and video description below. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast streaming app, then please do give this podcast a 5-star rating. It helps the podcast get up in the charts and allows the algorithm to bring this podcast to new listeners. And also do review the podcast if you can, and make sure you do follow or subscribe to keep getting future episodes. Today we will be continuing on with my thoughts on the Bhagavad Gita, and today we will be looking at chapter 9 verses 30 to 34. Verse 30: even if a person purposely causes harm to others and their actions are still flawed, but they are trying to be devoted to me in Bhakti Yoga, I consider them to be on the right path in spite of their imperfections. This is quite interesting because it can be debated quite a bit. What does Sri Krishna really mean here? Because are you telling me that someone could do bad deeds and then get away with it? That's not what Sri Krishna is saying. He's definitely not saying that. He's saying that they may be still on the right path. But let's go into this a little bit deeper. We're going to look at the verse as a whole. And I would like to know what you think about this verse after I've shared my thoughts about it. So let me know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. What other points did you think of that I didn't think of? Do you have a different interpretation? I'll be really interested to know what you think. Here, Sri Krishna is saying that anyone that deliberately harms others, purposefully harms others, causes harm, whose actions still have flaws. You can't say they're pure, you can't say they are righteous in any way. They have one thing going for them. And what is that one thing that's going for them? Is that they are devoted to their Ishtevta and or Nirgun Brahman. And in this union of devotion, in this unity, they are on the right path. This is what Sri Krishna is saying. And I actually agree with Sri Krishna on this. It's weird, but I see the bigger picture here. I see the longer game being played. If you think about it from Sri Krishna's point of view, right now, Arjun thinks that he's going to cause harm. He's going to be killing the people that he loves. Think about Arjun's mental state right now. If you think about it, he is still probably feeling distraught. The tendencies, the feelings of angst are still there. It's not completely disappeared. So he knows that, and he says, maybe if you think your actions are flawed. Yeah. Even for Duryodhana, this applies to him too. If one tries to be devoted to Sri Krishna or to Brahman in Bhakti Yoga, only in Bhakti Yoga, don't do it as, oh, I remember formless awareness, or I read about formless awareness, or I've had the Brahm Gyan, so, I have all the tools. No. Calm down. It's not that way at all. You have to have Bhakti Yoga. There has to be love and devotion, because It is love and devotion which takes things forward. Ultimately, what Sri Krishna is trying to make sure is that whatever their devotion they have right now, that devotion may transform their behavior now, or at least in the next life. Because he's not said they're going to achieve mukti. He's not said they're going to come to him. He's not said this. He's made that very clear. He's not said, oh yeah, they're going to come to me. They are now jivan mukt. They are liberated. They are free. They have got out of the cycle of suffering. He has not said this. He has not said this. He's giving people an opportunity. He's saying, right now you may have done this in the past, but there may be an opportunity where you may stop doing this. Let's explore that opportunity. Literally, that's what he's doing. He's waking that person up. At the same time, Sri Krishna doesn't want somebody to lose hope. Especially if they're doing bad actions. And they may be doing bad actions based on somebody's bad actions. So it may be something that they have no control over because their intellect isn't strong enough. Right now, on the ultimate level, you have to look at things on many different levels. You can't just see things from one way. You have to see everything. Now, if that person does a bad act, purposefully knows I'm doing the wrong thing, I have no other choice. If they feel that, right? If they feel they have no other choice. But their devotion towards Brahman, towards Sri Krishna, towards an Ishtadevata is fully intact. Fully there. He wants to ensure, Sri Krishna is saying this, he wants to ensure that these people know that their devotion will have positive results. It will have a positive effect. Do not think that anything done in devotion is lost, is what he's trying to say. And on the other hand, we have to acknowledge the imperfections of others and ourselves before we judge anybody at all. We do not know what circumstances they're in. We do not know what situation they're in. Similarly, like with Arjun, we do not know what situation he's in. We can only kind of feel it, but he went through it. He knows what it's like to stand on the opposite side, look at the people you love and adore for so many years, and be like, I'm going to have to kill you. I'm going to have to do that one act which I do not want to do. Do you know the massive toll that will have on his mental health? Can you even imagine? In that light, Sri Krishna is absolutely correct. That if anybody, despite what they do in their life, if they are devoted to me in their bhakti, then I know they're on the right path. Because they will get the results of that too. And the other nuanced point is, even if you think somebody is bad, there are good qualities too. And you must always acknowledge that there are good qualities, even if you dislike somebody. There are people I dislike, right? But I know that for some people, there's going to be good qualities too. And I have to acknowledge them, even if I don't agree. Yeah? We must see in that way. But let me know, what are your views? Do you think what Sri Krishna is saying is fair? Or do you think it's unfair and we have to consult him in some manner? Verse 31. You should know for certain, Arjun, that any Atma who is dedicated to my loving service quickly becomes steady in dharmic living and soon achieves the balanced state of Shanti. No bhakta of mine is ever lost for long, and none is ultimately lost or destroyed. If you feel love and compassion from Sri Krishna, or if you felt this from your Guru, or you feel it from this formless, and you feel that is speaking to you right now in that verse, don't think that is said to Arjun, think that is for you. you feel hope. You feel you can get there. You feel that everything is possible. You feel that there is a way out to the way you've been living. That's the power of Sri Krishna. His words, that's why the Bhagavad Gita is still remembered today. This very reason. It gives hope. When every other place will try to say there's no hope for you, this is giving you hope. When every door closes, Sri Krishna's will be open. This is the guarantee, and this verse shows it. Read it again, chapter 9, verse 31. You should know for certain, Arjun, that any Atma who is dedicated to my loving service quickly becomes steady in dharmic living and soon achieves the balanced state of Shanti. No bhakta of mine is ever lost for long, and none is ultimately lost or destroyed. Don't think of Arjun. Replace Arjun's name with yours. And feel it with that love and devotion, and you will feel that Shanti. A lot of people just read. They read the verse and then that's it. Feel the verse. What is it telling you? People will go into the grammar, the words, the pronunciation, this, that. Feel what Sri Krishna is saying. So let's look at the first part of the verse. You should know for certain, Arjun, that any Atma who is dedicated to my loving service quickly becomes steady in dharmic living and soon achieves the balanced state of Shanti. When we have this oneness with formless awareness, and who serves the whole of existence, who transcends any doership and renounces the fruits of their actions, they become steady in dharmic living. If you do any of those things, you are that Atma who is dedicated to Sri Krishna or Brahman's loving service. And you will find that you become steady in dharmic living. We're going to go into what dharmic living is in a minute. But you become steady. It doesn't shake. It's not turbulent. If your spirituality is turbulent, then you've not found peace yet. In fact, I would even go to the point to say, you've not worked on your intellect enough. And that may be the missing piece. I meet two types of people. Either they're completely in the intellect, or they're completely in bhakti, in loving devotion, but their loving devotion is turned blind. They're blind faith. So I see both. And normally the response that I have to those people is, if you have too much blind faith, you need to use your intellect. If somebody has too much intellect, I say, you need to have bhakti. And they normally laugh at what I say. They mock it actually. But I'm giving you what worked for me. It may not work for you, but you've not tried it, you just mocked it and then left. When that happens, when we mock things like that, then how is our dharmic living going to be steady? Let's look into what dharmic living is. Dharmic living is living in oneness with formless awareness. First, number one, most important thing that we must not let go of is living in the oneness with formless awareness. That is the number one dharmic living. That is the number one way of life to have. We serve our loved ones and our society with loving kindness. We are always kind to others, compassionate to others. We love them completely, unconditionally. As we love Sri Krishna, we must love the world. Simple as that. We serve others, but without any expectation. We don't want a single thing back. Not even appreciation. What's the point of doing some good? How can we say we're doing seva if we're doing selfless service and we're saying, oh, he didn't even acknowledge me. He didn't even say thank you. Or she didn't even look at me. She didn't even acknowledge my presence. Serve others, but don't expect anything. And if that person didn't thank you, then it's more silly to expect anything from them anyway. Think about it. Why would you want anything from them anyway? If they can't even say thank you to you, even acknowledge you, why would you want their appreciation? Let them be. We don't need them. Then what else is dharmic living? Our mind is always steady, whether we gain something or we lose something. It doesn't matter. Life is all about losing something and gaining something. Life is always in the ups and downs. We make certain decisions. We think we've made a gain. We end up losing. And sometimes we let go of something. We think we've lost something. And then we gain so much months later. Therefore, be steady. Treat everything the same. Don't become turbulent because life isn't going your way. Really just flow. Be at ease. Don't resist. That's the way of being spiritual. That's dharmic living. Devote every action you have to the divine. Every action. Brushing your teeth. Washing your face. You're cleaning the house. Feeding a loved one. It can be an elderly parent. It can be a little child. Serve others as if you're serving the divine. One thing, if you want strong relationships, serve your spouse, your partner. Seeing them as the divine. If you do this, you'll have a happy marriage. You will be happy. The next one is we try to live every moment in loving devotion to formless awareness, or at the very least towards our Ishtevta. Whatever our Ishtevta wants, we offer everything. We live every moment in that awareness, in devotion towards the formless oneness. And we will always utilize our vivek, our discernment of the real and unreal. Whenever we think that life is getting too heavy for us and we're losing sight of reality, then go back to discernment. Go back to understanding what is real and unreal. That which changes is unreal. That which is changeless, which is permanent, is real. Simple as that. And we will always measure our actions and thoughts and see if it matches with the life of saints and sages. This is an important point. These saints and sages aren't merely there for our enjoyment or our entertainment. Their life should be inspired from. Whenever you hear someone say, I cannot be like such and such, or that person is such and such, I'm not. That person will never achieve anything in spirituality. Nothing, not even a single thing. They can act spiritual, all they want. But that is the strongest sense of duality. The saints and sages didn't live their lives just so you praise them and then do your own thing. And do the exact opposite of what they did. Then what's the point? they live their lives, even the ones that are alive today, our gurus that are alive today, we have to become like them. That's the whole point. Otherwise, why have them in our life? Why waste their time? Why waste their time? And why waste our time pretending to be spiritual? So let go of the spiritual pretense, be inspired by these saints and sages, and live that life. See if your life matches with them. See how they lived. And be inspired. Measure your life, your words and your actions, your thoughts. And see, does it match the thoughts of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, of Kabir Ji, of your Guru, of the mystics we've looked at in Wisdom of the Mystics? Does it match their words? Does it match the way they live their life? This is what we need to do. Now, if somebody now turns around and says, isn't dharmic living, reading the scriptures, saying you are Hindu? No. That is just cultural identity. I do puja, I'm a Hindu. No. Dharmic living is a lot more important and more refined and more honorable than simple things like that. People just say all these words. No. If we do all of these things, then this type of life brings in a balanced state of peace. Naturally. And one is always in contentment. What more do we want? If we're living dharmic living, what more do you want? Completely fulfilled. This is what life is all about. And one's peace of mind is never disturbed. Never. You will always be in peace of mind. And that's the number one thing people want. You know, they say the mental health crisis is like a pandemic. It is a pandemic, actually. And the reason for that is because there are many phony advice about how to have peace of mind. Oh, do this meditation, you'll be fine. Do this Reiki, you'll be fine. Do this and you'll be fine. When nothing is addressing the intellect, when nothing is addressing the heart, when all we want to measure spirituality is by the law of attraction and all this type of stuff, or crystals and all that, don't expect much. Then the next part of the verse is, no bhakta of mine is ever lost for long, and none is ultimately lost or destroyed. This would make, it makes my heart melt, but it makes your heart melt. When you hear these words, feel that Sri Krishna is saying these words to you. Feel that your Guru is saying these words to you. If you don't follow Sri Krishna, you may love the Bhagavad Gita, you may have a Guru, someone that you really love, a role model, someone that inspires you, a spiritual friend. Think that they're saying this to you. You feel it. Now think about it. No devotee of this Nirgun Brahman, of this formless awareness, is lost in this world for long. No. Because they're already living in that balanced state. And remember, nothing is lost, nothing is forgotten, nothing is destroyed. Everything is within Brahman. Don't think it loses things. Don't think that you'll lose something. No. Every action and thought is blessed by formless awareness or your Ishtevta. So one should be inspired to commit to this devotion. So no devotee will ever be lost. And if one loses their way for a bit, they will come back. Because I put it this way. The moment I became serious about my spiritual life, when I say serious, I do it playfully, with the flow, with ease. But when I became serious about it, my life has been... I can never explain the inner joy, the inner gratitude. Like, I can't even say one should be thankful. I struggle with that. Even to say that I should be thankful. It's a feeling that is so obvious within me that if I put words to it, I would limit it. I know. I do say thank you. I do say thank you to existence. Thank you for this wonderful life. Thank you for bringing me here to where I am today. I really appreciate it. Even in my darkest times, I always knew there was light at the end of the tunnel. Always. And that's what spiritual practice brings. Is that even in the darkest of tragedies that happen in life, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. You will. That's why. Don't ever feel lost in this. This devotion will take you far. Always will. And don't ever think that just because you did bad deeds in your past, that it's all lost and destroyed now. You can never come out of it. You can. And you will. Just be devoted to your Ishtevta. Forget Nirgun Brahman for a second. Commit to your Ishtevta. Commit to your Guru. Really important to do so. And remember, don't ever lose hope. Don't ever even think that you have no chance. Don't think that. Don't even entertain the thought. If you want to hear it from me again and again, you have all the opportunities to become one with Brahman. Forget what's happened in your past. Today, if you feel that you've been living a life where you've not been happy, you've not been satisfied, you've hurt others knowingly or unknowingly, and now you want to correct your ways, Shri Krishna is saying, there is a way. Don't lose hope. If you're ready, you can start now. All you need is to be devoted to your Ishtevta. That's all. Right, now to verse 32. O Arjun, those born from compromised situations or in corrupted families, those born female and who were not given freedom or education, those who work in business that harm their character, and those who work in compromising occupations can still have a relationship with me through the practice of Bhakti Yoga, and eventually they will reach the Paramgati, the ultimate destination. Again, a very interesting verse, and I think we can really feel what he's trying to say. Some of it can be misunderstood, and I'll address those in a minute. First of all, most importantly, without a shadow of a doubt, Sri Krishna understands how life can be unfair, unjust. Not everyone is dealt with the right cards or are dealt with even a fair game, to be honest. It's true, like not everyone is. You look at the world, you look at the poverty, the way politicians are manipulating and they are deliberately trying to reduce the rights of others. It's disgusting how corrupt they are. But Sri Krishna wants to give them hope too. And I mean, I can understand. This is what I mean. When Sri Krishna has unconditional love, you see it now. Now, if you're completely dualistic and believe nobody deserves a chance, that means there's hatred in you. But Sri Krishna obviously has love, and that's why he says the things that he does. If you see things from love, you understand what he's talking about. Otherwise, you won't. Otherwise, it's like, this guy is unrealistic. Not me, I'm on about Sri Krishna here. We know the world still lacks equal rights. And people are still divided. We know that. And Sri Krishna understands this. People still negatively discriminate others based on their gender, their colour, their nationality, their sexual orientation, their caste, their religion or non-religion, their job title. We know people still discriminate negatively. One feels it. You can be on a work call and you can sense when they treat the director different to, say, the specialist or the VP or the executive team. You see how people treat them differently. Negatively. It's a subtle thing, you see. We have seen how divided this world can be. And more so, like in our time, we've seen since 2016 how crazy it's been. I mean, it's been exhausting. But we have seen that this division has only grown since then. Why? Because people can't have a conversation. People can't see things on the other side. Or they don't understand the other side and make quick judgments, make quick sound bites, and they just believe it. They read something on Facebook, they think it must be followed. They watch something on YouTube, and they start believing it without using their intellect. Even when you're watching this, use your intellect. Don't listen to this with blind faith. Don't. That's my number one warning. Listen to this with your intellect. Because not only will it help you, but it may also help me if you have a question. And maybe I haven't understood something fully, it can help me. Now we know that some families, some people are born in corrupted families. Their families do corrupt business. Unfortunately, they get born and brought up into it and they follow that path. It happens. We know that some people may be in compromised situations. Someone can be even raped and therefore they have to give birth because some country or some state, some law, some court believes that a woman cannot choose what to do with their body, and that poor woman has to bring up the child, maybe in poverty. Well, Sri Krishna says that they should not lose hope, they can still be devoted to me. Some people are so weird that some people who apparently are representing some religions, any religion at this point, any spiritual institution, anyone, anything, even they can say, because you've done this in your life, you will not get heaven. Sri Krishna is saying, tell them to get out. You can be devoted to me. You can have a relationship with me. I'm not going to judge you. And if Sri Krishna can do that, me, you, and everyone else has to do it. Simple as that. Especially us who are privileged. More so. Some families are corrupt. They do corrupt things. Then you see them do all these spiritual things. They do all these pujas, havans. They called all the pandits. They do this massive yug. And they think they're doing something great for the devas, yeah? For the devis and devtas. And they're suppressing others. They expect others to open the doors for them. You think they will open the door for someone they believe is lower than them? No. And they may only do spirituality for appearance only. To look good. Hopefully to win some favor. Even they have the opportunity to be loved by Sri Krishna. All they need to do is have devotion in him. He'll understand. And like he understands, we need to understand. Even if we think it's really obnoxious of those people. Then he says, those born female and who were not given freedom or education. The shameful thing is, even in a country like India, a woman is not safe. As much as there's been attempts to improve things, still they are not safe. Women are still fighting, not just in India but worldwide. There's this issue that they're still fighting for basic rights like abortion, marriage, who to choose. Sometimes they're forced to enter an arranged marriage. Equal pay. Let me not even go into the gender disparity in pay. And just equal rights in general. I mean, it's just atrocious. Even to the point that they have to pay a special tax when they're on their period. They have to pay tax, and in fact pay for products for their menstrual cycle. Why is that even happening? Why is that even... Those things should be for free because it's hygiene. And it's not like it's a choice. This is hygiene that's necessary. The fact that people charge, we hear about it, the tampon tax. Disgusting. Why is there tax on this? It's shameful. And that's where, again, they're not given the freedom or education. But they have every right to have a relationship with Bhagwan. Even to the point they say, if a woman is on her period, they cannot enter a temple or they cannot pray. I've heard such questions and I've heard such things. I've heard a guru say it, personally. Oh, because the person's on their period, they cannot do puja that day. They cannot pray to the deities that day. Disgusting. Horrible. Lowly thinking. And people worship such people. How are we moving forward if even religion is doing the wrong thing? So here, we have to understand, even in spirituality, we must do the right thing. It doesn't matter if anybody is in whatever cycle, whatever day of the year, it doesn't matter what their body is going through. They have every right to be in devotion and have every right to have a relationship with Sri Krishna in Bhakti Yoga. Simple as that. End of discussion. Anyone that says anything else to you is a complete liar and should be behind bars. Or at least unfollowed. And if you're following them on YouTube, unsubscribe right now. If they're saying that openly, just imagine what thoughts they have behind closed doors. So be careful. And in general, we know that women have less access to education. We've seen that. And we've seen how Malala was treated and how she was shot and nearly died. And sometimes they're not even allowed to work. Oh, you're a woman, you have to look after... You're a wife now, you have to look after the husband. Such outdated thinking we have to move on from. We have to learn. Like, for example, it's not just that the man has to go out and earn a living and the woman stays at home and cooks and cleans. It's up to us if we want to follow that, but it doesn't have to be the rule. And then there may be people who work in a business, in an organization, and they may do some fraudulent activities, they may do some shady things that you may not agree with, and they may harm your character. as a result, either directly or indirectly, if you do those things. That's why people think people who sell are like snakes. They don't trust them. Things like that, silly stuff. But you may know people that do shady practices, and that can, and you may not even be aware sometimes. Sometimes people are quite innocent and they don't know, and they've indirectly done something that harms their character. Even if they have a relationship with Sri Krishna, absolutely fine. They can be in full bhakti. Some occupations may not be ideal, but some are forced. And I know that in some countries, prostitution is forced because a woman has no other way because of the way they are treated. Again, that's just shame on society. Sri Krishna wants these affected people to understand that devotional yoga, bhakti yoga, will help them in life. If they remember the attributes of Brahman, of Saguna Brahman, of the shared being, if they do Nam Japa, remain in the awareness of formless awareness, they will reach the ultimate destination of Jivan Mukti. That is guaranteed. Verse 33, how easy is it then for those who know Brahman, who are dharmic rulers, and who know that this world is temporary and full of miseries, to become engaged in loving service to me? Think of this question for yourself. And we may be wondering this too. How easy is it? If we have a nice life, if we're living in privilege, if life has been favorable in every way for us, then what difficulty is there in being in bhakti, in being in loving devotion, in being spiritual? And the most important thing is, once you know Brahman, once you know this formless awareness, it should be easy to devote every aspect of your life to Brahman. Every aspect. Offer it to Brahman. Be in the remembrance of Brahman. Be in the awareness of Brahman. Do not let that go. We can easily live our life and center our life around formless awareness. We know this world is temporary now. It's unreal. It's changing. Therefore, why attach everything to it? We know it's full of miseries. We've seen it. We experience it. Sometimes on a daily basis. Not every part of the day is wonderful. But once we know that that's the fact of life, we can move forward. So what are the dharmic rulers? Not just kings. In Arjun's case, it is for him to be the king. But for us, if we are living a dharmic life, like I mentioned earlier, that person is a dharmic ruler. Now let's go to verse 34. Just focus your thinking, feeling, willing or desiring, and memory upon me in a state of intense adoration. Offer everything you possess to me with sincere humility, uniting with me in the mood of endearing devotion. Then, when you are steady in your meditation, you will come to me. Let's look at the first part. Just focus your thinking, feeling, willing, and memory upon me in a state of intense adoration. Again, this verse, it's more has to be felt than thought about. So intellect is still used, but more feeling. Experience it. Feel the words. So first of all, the first step, focus every thought around formless awareness, around Nirgun Brahman, with absolute adoration and love. Every thought, offer it to the divine. Focus every emotion, happiness, sadness, joy, bliss, anger, every feeling you get. Focus it upon this formless awareness with absolute adoration and love. Focus every will you have, every desire you have, spiritual and worldly, around this formless awareness with absolute adoration and love, and focus every memory of the past, every daydream of the present, and every dream of the future, pleasant or painful. Do it upon formless awareness with absolute adoration and love, intense adoration. When you're remembering this formless awareness, feel your heart skip a beat. Desire this pure love. Keep remembering this formless awareness. And when the thought tries to take you to another place, bring it back to formless awareness. That's all you need to do. So simple. And Sri Krishna has given us a simple technique. Simple technique. Nothing complicated. Then the second part of the verse. Offer everything you possess to me with sincere humility, uniting with me in the mood of endearing devotion. Then when you are steady in your meditation, you will come to me. Everything you do is an act of meditation. Everything. When you do all of those things, that's meditation. Meditation is life, not 30 minutes in the day. If it's 30 minutes in the day, or whatever time you do it for, it's not meditation. Meditation is 24/7, constant awareness of this formless awareness. Shri Krishna says, offer everything you possess to me with sincere humility. Offer every aspect of your wealth portfolio to Brahman within your mind with sincere humility and say, Brahman, everything you've given, it's yours. Don't give me ego over it. Don't make me identified with it. All that you've given to me is a blessing. Thank you. May I never be arrogant about it. Even if I have millions in my bank account, don't let me look at anyone being lower than me because they have less of a bank account. Don't let me have that arrogance. That's number one that Sri Krishna says. So offer everything you possess to him. In your mind, not physically go and give it to a temple or something. In your mind. It's a practice to have. Because remember, he says, uniting with me in the mood of endearing devotion. So it has to be done in bhakti. It has to be done in devotion. So I want to re-emphasize, you don't need to physically offer your possessions to any spiritual or religious place. That's not what Sri Krishna is saying. That you write your will and leave your estate to Sri Krishna. He's not talking about that. He's saying mentally, let go of the attachment. And see every possession as Brahman's. And with your mind, offer it all to Brahman. It's all Brahman's. Nothing is mine. I don't owe anything. I'm going to leave this life. Yeah, we all are going to die. We're all going to pass. So there's no need to hold on to it. Be humble and thankful and realize you have no real ownership. So how can there be ego? We've talked about this before. But how can you have ego if you know everything is the divine's anyway? Keep experiencing that closeness, the nearness, and then eventually the oneness with formless awareness, with Nirgun Brahman, with Sri Krishna in his true sense, his true roop, which is this formless. Experience it. Experience the closeness. Experience the nearness. Feel it so close to you. So close that even the skin on your face can experience the energy of that formless, the vibration of that formless, the love of that formless. And then understand that that subtle experience you're having is within you and all around you. It's one and the same. And then Sri Krishna says, commit to a meditation practice and steady yourself in formless awareness. Being aware of formless awareness is meditation. Steady yourself in it. And in that steadiness, you will realize your true self. You will go to Sri Krishna, or you will go to Nirgun Brahman and realize that that is everything. That is the only thing. You realize your true self, this formless awareness, and you remain there eternally. There will not be a time when this will escape you. So stay in this, remain in this, be absorbed in this, and never forget the closeness, the nearness, and if you can, the oneness of this. And that is the end of the episode. If you liked what you heard and liked what you watched, please do share this podcast with your friends and family who may enjoy this content. Do follow me on social media to keep getting updates. Join the Bearded Mystic Podcast WhatsApp community group to continue the podcast discussion. Details are in the show notes and video description below. If you would like to support the Bearded Mystic Podcast as we discussed earlier, do check out the podcast Patreon page. Your support means everything and it helps this podcast keep running. Details are in the show notes and video description below. Please do rate this podcast 5 stars and do give a review either on your favorite podcast streaming app or on our website. Details are in the show notes and video description below. Please do like and comment on this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Do follow or subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast streaming app. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. Let's end with the Shanti mantra and the Soham mantra. Soham, Soham, I am that, I am that. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Namaste.